Stevenson. Welcome, Mike. Welcome, world. We're going to be talking about some great things today. And what do you think, Mike? Let's start it off.
Right. Okay. I want to start with something I did last night. I went on to this new Chat GPT, which is a new artificial intelligence thing. It's extraordinary. So they say they've gathered all the academic papers, all the intelligence from around the world, and I asked it a simple question. And the question was, what 4 things do we need to do to make the world a better place? And the answer was, just as we would describe it, there is an awful gap between the very wealthy and the poor. In fact, 64 people own as much wealth as the entire bottom half of the global population, which is extraordinary. It's unjustifiable. It's morally repugnant. The other thing they talked about was climate change, as if we didn't know. There are still climate change deniers. And they talked about education and health as being the prerequisites for all that can enable humanity to flourish. So those are the big things. I just wanted to talk about some of the things I've seen recently. In Singapore, they've turned their multi-story car parks into urban farms, vertical farms, producing vegetation, fruit and vegetables to feed the population. There's a Norwegian company has found a way to grow plants in the desert. They've got this silicone which they can pump into the sand, and it lays a bed, and it allows moisture to stay in the sand, so they're able to grow stuff. I mean, this is astonishing. There is, billboard in Peru, which it collects from the moisture in the atmosphere and delivers fresh water in gallons. Now, they say that by 2050, one third world city will gather all its fresh water from the atmosphere. That's astonishing. But I want to just talk also about something that I've talked about quite a lot recently, and that is the audacity of children. They are naturally, instinctively audacious. They don't think small, they think ambitiously. And this is what we're talking about today. There is a teacher in the city of Ahmedabad in India, and she said to her 7-year-olds, because she believes at 7, this is the age where young people have got they're alive to possibility. Their imaginations are full and their confidence is alive. And she set them the challenge of changing 1 billion lives. And they said they wanted to talk about child labor. So she got them rolling joysticks in a darkened room for hours upon end, just so they experienced what it was like. And they went out and they spoke to employers. They ended child labor in that city by talking directly to employers. They then went out and they were teaching older people how to read and write. This spread right across India. And they've got 7-year-old children going out and doing the most extraordinary things, raising money, getting the city handed over to children for 1 day every 2 months, so that it becomes a veritable playground. And children are audacious, and we lose that confidence. We begin to think of everything having to be done incrementally, having to be planned, having to be strategized. And I'll just finish off with the mayor of Curitiba in Brazil, a city of 1.2 million people. And he wanted a city designed for people. Now that's a very shared aspiration, isn't it? Everyone wants a city designed for people. So he set about it. And there's 2 things he did that I think require a mention. The first was the slum dwellers. He wanted them to recycle all their waste. Can you imagine? Hardly a priority when you're right on the edge of survival. But he said, in exchange, I will give you food and football tickets. They were recycling 100% of their waste. not long after. He said to his operations director in the municipality, how long does it take to pedestrianize a street? And they said, 3 to 6 months. He said, I want it done in 48 hours. Did they do it in 48 hours? Yes. He created the most connected, actually quite sexy transport system. So cars are down. People in the slums got the opportunity then to help to build their own homes. And 69% of them are now employed in a lucrative construction industry. So this happens. And if I just tell you that in a city of 1.2 million at the time, more people used the public transport system in Curitiba than they did in New York, with 8.5 million people. It's possible. Anything's possible. But we have to just set a vision that people understand. Or we as an individual can create a stir by doing something that no one expects. We can protest, we can complain, we can put, policy suggestions to local authorities, to governments. But actually, there's nothing better than doing something that just gets people going, lets people see the possible. So that's why I talk about audacity. Okay?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about audacity today and making audacious changes. We're not talking about the left wing and the right wing taking over the world. That's bad for business. Yes, I said it. Everything that we're talking about today builds business, makes corporations bigger, makes other little companies bigger, and the people who have the most control over it are people who walk around with these. Okay, and it's important to understand that this is not a we against you. This is we, all of us, have to make changes, and it's now have to, not okay, sometime, or my grandkids can worry about that. It's too late then, and the clock is ticking rather, and we really have to look at what that looks like. And these are fabulous statistics. I love this. What India is doing. India is quickly becoming a go-to economy, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's number 3 now or something like that, global economy. Well, they have a few people there, but they have a few people that are starting to get educated. They're getting healthier, and they're going into the workforce, not just the slave labor, pick and shovel, that kind of stuff, because pick and shovels are ineffective and they're too costly.
Yeah.
They teach them how to run the machines that do it 3 or 4 times better. They pay them more. Yeah, but here's what you end up with. You have healthier people. That means they don't get sick as much. And when they don't get sick as much, your related expense to your people, notice people, not HR, your added expense is lowered because your insurance premiums go down because you have a safer environment. There are things to think about from a business aspect and what it could mean for you and your company. That's the big picture. It can also mean, look on your desk, ladies and gentlemen. I bet you've got a picture of a family member there, or maybe a couple of family members. It counts to them. Okay? What we're doing today and what we're talking about does not affect us personally. Mike and I are getting up there in the years part of this thing, and it's not going to do anything for us. But we're talking to you today because we want it better for you. Okay, both the business owner and the person on the street. Being safe to go to and from work, having it done efficiently, and not worrying about the use of cars. There isn't that many more years before gasoline will be allowed in cars. Those cars will not be allowed in metropolitan areas. It will stop. Whether you like it or not, it's going to stop. And we're going to make smarter decisions. Scientists are making smarter batteries for electric cars. There's a lot of things going on. One of the things that I read about a couple of years ago that Mike, you and I touched on earlier before we came on the live, and that is they've got a way of a turbine in a desert taking water out of the air and creating it right there. Okay. And it's only a few feet high. Okay. And it's so effective in the middle of a Sahara desert. This thing makes water.
Yeah.
And Mike, you were talking about, putting the silicon underneath the sand in a desert or an arid region so that the silicon can hold the water and they can grow plants there. They're actually doing it, right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a green line being planted through Africa, up the spine of Africa, and at the moment, and it's making a lot of progress. So there are so many good things going on, and you don't hear about them. This is the really worrying thing, because our news is dominated by crisis. It's dominated by narcissistic politicians who are always out there. And of course, they're great. They're great for the news media because they always say something, controversial or ridiculous or stupid. But this is about people, and politicians represent people. Their role is to represent the ambitions of people. And great politicians are 20 years ahead of the general population. Those days are gone, I'm afraid. I think those politicians are gone. We've now got a different set. And it is really about all these developments I've talked about have been done outside the political world. These are companies, these are businesses full of people who are making these things happening. And it's universities, it's research. But, you talked about India. India has more high quality graduates in digital technology and computer technology than America has young people. That gives you a sense of why this is a absolute, hotbed of innovation, of brain power, of people who've been educated, who understand the technologies and who are going to make things happen. We've got to partner with them. This is really important. The other thing is my contention that we need children to be involved much more actively now. And I've done this with children. Children come up with designs for their own city that would just blow you away. And in fact, what they're designing is what cities should be like now. It's not some future fantasy.
Right.
This is what the audacity means. That, if you say to someone who is cynical, they'll say that will never happen. If you say to someone who's a complexity seller, they'll say, oh, we have to set up a process. It's going to take this long, blah, blah, blah. Virgin, if you work for Virgin, you can take a holiday whenever you want, right? Does it mean that no one works? No, it doesn't. It means that people are happy to work for Virgin because they get a good deal. And, Virgin put people at the heart of their organization. And that is what every business is going to have to do. Because young people looking for work now, they look on Glasshouse. Is it Glasshouse? It is here anyway. You can look at employers and it tells you what people that have worked there, how they feel, how they treat their staff, what their community commitments are like, what their environmental credentials are like. And young people are rightly asking those questions. So there is a time limit here. Those businesses that want to continue on the kind of old path are going to be found out. Not only from the consumer side, but also from a staffing side. And, I went to speak to investment bankers in London 3 years ago and asked them what the challenge was. They can't recruit people because the banks let people down. And the young people at school then said, I never want to work for a bank. So there is an imperative around this. And even banks now are being replaced by new style banks where they've got ethical finance, where they invest in good projects. So the world is changing. And, now is an opportunity to come up with those ideas. And if you can't fund it yourself, let's take it to people with money, because they have they don't get that many requests. They really don't. And I think that we should stop dissing billionaires, and we should start giving them ideas, getting their backing, because they're not totally removed from society. They are here. And I think they want ideas. And, we can do that, but we can also start making things happen in our community.
Yeah. They're Microsoft, Amazon, they've all been built from a little office and garages and all that. Hard work, good decisions, and a connection to their employees and what's going on. Now, once they get real big, they're wide open for all the naysayers. And that's not saying that there were some bad decisions. There are good decisions, no bad decisions, ladies and gentlemen. They're just decisions.
Yeah.
And when you get to a certain stage, it's about protection now, and I get that.
Yeah.
Richard Branson, you brought him up. Okay, he has built Virgin by one basic principle, and you touched on it. Take care of your employees; they'll take care of your customers.
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, he never goes out and hustles new employees. They come to him. He starts the Virgin Cruise Line. They were all over him for applications. Absolutely. Okay, so what did he do when he started on the opening day of the cruise? He was in every compartment on that vessel, talking and congratulating his people and having fun with him and enjoying them. And he still spent time with his customers up on the decks. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you think about the big picture, that guy had to go nonstop to get that done. Nonstop, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows if he even ate during that day? Somebody probably said, you drink this smart water or something like that, or I'm going to pour it down you because you're about to fall over. But the results are right there. His cruise line took off and it rocked. He hasn't touched any business that doesn't rock. And the whole thing is the people. It's about putting people first is fundamental. I've put that up a couple of times, and it's really a lot about what we're talking about today. And with Audacity, yes, you're going to change the narrative. You're going to change the way you think.
Yeah.
And if it's not about your thumping heart and your soul, it doesn't have to be. It's about dollars and cents. It's about making good business decisions, investing in what will return massively for you, rather than, I don't want to do those crazy people don't want to do stuff, right? Well, they said the same thing about the telephone. And there was a lot of people with Thomas Edison says, I'm not going to put those things in my house. I'd rather have my gas lamps burn the place down than put that electricity stuff in there. Well, that worked real well too, didn't it, ladies and gentlemen? How about the cell phone? Okay. Today's cell phone, it's common knowledge, has more power than this cell phone has more power than a couple of my laptops. Okay. It just does. And wherever I go, my office and all of my communications go with me. Okay. That's the big picture stuff. When we're out where signal strength is not so good, we have a booster. We're out there doing business. We want to talk to people. And it makes good sense to be able to talk to people. Any final thoughts there, Mike? This has been a fabulous conversation today.
Just the most audacious thing I've ever seen. And it was an interview on top of the Empire State Building with a very young Cassius Clay. I don't know if you remember this, but here was this young man, good-looking young man, who had the gift of the gab. And he kept saying, I'm going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. I am the greatest. And of course, he went on to do that. But the thing is, he set out a marker for himself. and he didn't talk about the stages of getting there. I met a 15-year-old boy who was top in every class in school. And I said to him, what are your ambitions? He says, I'm going to cure Alzheimer's. Now, this is a 15-year-old. And the teacher, I could hear him in the background saying, you've got to get through your exams and then go to medical school first. And he got irritated, this 15-year-old boy. He says, I know that. I'm going to cure Alzheimer's. Driven boy. So Branson, when he set up Virgin, his mission is to improve the human condition. I think that's a brilliant mission. And his most audacious act was to take on British Airways to get this transatlantic route. British Airways owned, they were the big incumbent. They'd been a state-backed company, now they were private. And he took them on in court and he won. So he won that route. And of course, he was able to offer something that the previous incumbents of that route weren't. So, everything is about just breaking a pattern. It's about coming up with a big, audacious idea. And then it's about getting people around you to be captivated by it. And there are too many of the things that people say are very process-driven. We need big ideas, and we need the boldness to captivate people and take these ideas forward. And that's where I'm at just now. I've just been asked to go and speak in Milan next year, and they want me to speak on this very subject about creativity and audacity. It's a leadership conference, you know about it. So this is about spreading this message. It's about encouraging people.
Absolutely. The event you're talking about, I have some knowledge of. The coordinator is a terrific fellow, very popular, world thought leader and thinker. And he puts on events where people get to think, not just sit and listen.
Yeah. They
get to think about the speaker and the subject matter. And it's in real talk. Yeah. It's not a PhD. There's nothing wrong with scientists. It's not about a scientist getting up there and speaking in sciencese. It's about a speaker getting up there and reaching out to the people that he's talking to, he or she, and that's really what we're here for today. And I hope that you share this, ladies and gentlemen, with other people that may get a take on this. Remember, we've talked about people today. We've talked about being audacious, but we've also talked about good business principles. Okay? I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. My partner and I built a global company, 6 continents, 17 countries, etc., in 5 years. Okay? Making good decisions. And our people are very happy. We hardly have any sick time, period. Okay? And there's a reason for that. Richard Branson was a big push of that. I followed him since my 20s. And that's a long time ago. That's late last century, ladies and gentlemen. But the principle is what is now the fundamental thought process. And I thank you very much for listening in today. And for those of you who are about to listen to the recording, we really thank you. And just have a great day. I'll tell you what. You're going to see this on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can put your comments there. I'll be monitoring them. I've got to go to a meeting for the first hour or so after this, but I will be monitoring them. Mike is going to be monitoring them as well so that we can respond to your comments and questions. And maybe some of those conversations that we have with you, ladies and gentlemen, could be a follow-up to this in a month or two, okay? Because we want to talk about this more, and we want to talk with you about this. So maybe there's a couple more people in here that have something really valid for the people, the public as a whole. So go out, reach out, put your thoughts down. We want to hear from you. We don't care where you are. We can put you together real soon. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.